There we go. Good morning. Now, two things. One, I'm currently getting over a cold, or the flu, so please bear with me. Two, I am a student of pipe fitting. I don't really have any qualifications for telling you how to read this, besides I just understand how to read most of it. I can get you the basics down, or at least get you started on the right track. When I looked up how to read isometrics on YouTube, I couldn't find very many videos, or very many videos that were helpful, so hopefully I can make this very clear for you. Right off the bat, I have a couple answers if you're taking tests on this through NCCER. One, an isometric always shows you piping from two different angles. That's a test question. Secondly, the main advantage you get from isometric drawings is clarity. Alrighty, now, I've picked out the simplest isometric that I have. This was made by my instructor, and it doesn't have too many curveballs on it, you know. Where to begin? Well, I guess I'll start at the very beginning and make it very simple. This is a drawing of pipe that you need to physically make by cutting it and threading it. And you'll need to make sure that it is level as well as the correct length. All of these pipes have been numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And they all have their own particular length. Now, give me 1 second. Okay. The numbers displayed here, if you can see that, that is 1 foot, 2 inches. A foot is always represented by 1 mark. I don't know the particular name of these. And an inch is always represented by 2 marks, which you've probably seen before. Now the actual length of the physical pipe will not be 1 foot, 2 inches. That is what we have to figure out by using our blue book. Just 1 second. The pipe fitter's blue book. There's also a fabricator's blue book. It's darker than this one, and I've never read out of it. I don't honestly know what it's for, but I had to buy it for school. So what you have to do here, let's assume that we have 1 inch pipe here, 1 inch in diameter. Let's flip over to the right page, page 90. And you look under laying length, not center to end. Under laying length, if we're using 1 inch pipe, the takeouts for an end are going to be 13/16. And you'll have to be aware that this first pipe here, for instance, nothing goes on this one, so you don't take out for anything. I apologize. Okay, so you don't take out for that end, but up here, where there's going to be a 90 degree turn, a joint, you have to take out 13/16 of an inch from that. If I'll pull out my calculator here real quick and we'll demonstrate that. So the length of this is 11 3/4. You input 11, and then you hit this ABC sign. Hit that once, hit a 3, hit the ABC button again, hit a 4, and then that is the length that we have written down. And then all we do, subtract 13/16 equal, and the actual length of the pipe is going to be 10 inches and 15/16. That's how you take out. That's what you're going to need to do for all these pipes. And of course, I'm going to state it for anyone who can't tell. When you get up here, there's going to be two 90s. Therefore, you take out... what is it? You take out 13/16 twice for each end. Whatever that adds up to. Oh wait, we're not on. Comes out to 1 5/8. Math is not my strong suit, to be honest. One of these days I'll show you how to do those fractions on paper. But let's do the next one, and then I'll explain something else for you. So here we have 1 foot and 2 inches. And the best thing to do there is to simplify that. So that's 12 inches, right? So the whole thing is 14 inches. 14 minus 13/16 equals, and then you got to take out the other end, which is going to be 13/16 equals. So the actual literal length of our pipe is going to be 12 inches and 3/8. What I suggest you do whenever you have to get these is get a separate notebook and write down all your answers on that, because you'll probably be carrying that around trying to find the right length of pipe and such. It's a lot easier when you have that sitting with you and not constantly going back to your scrap notebook. Quite honestly, actually, let me pull out one of my notebooks. This right here, this is my scrap notebook. I've been trying to learn trigonometry. But you just put in scrap, you know, anything you have to write down. I have a separate notebook that I write down all my answers in. Here we go, here's a blank piece. And here's what I suggest you do. Where's my pen? So I say that you should have one scrap notebook and one answer notebook, and here's what you do. If this is going to be my answer notebook, what I'm going to write down is what diameter our pipe is. It's 1 inch. And then I'm going to write down the takeouts for 1 inch pipe, which I know is 13/16. So 1 inch pipe is going to equal out to 13/16. And then 2 takeouts, which you often have to do. What was it? 5/8? 2 and 5/8? Let's make sure that I'm right. Yeah, 1 and 5/8. So, what you do is just write out 1 and 5/8. So that's for all of our 90s. There will eventually be 45s, which I can show you later and talk about, but I'll just write it down really quick. For 1 inch, it's 9/16. So 45 degree, cool. What did I say? 9 out of 16? A little bit. Yeah. 45 will equal 9/16. So these are all your formulas for your takeouts. Then I suggest you just go through 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. You know, y'all know how to count. And you just write down all your answers. This will save you time flipping through your blue book, trying to find it because you forgot it, you know, all that. It'll save you a couple precious minutes. Okay. Just a couple more things before I get off here. Let's not get any closer. There we go. Here's a separate drawing. First of all, you will have all your points, and it's important to understand them. Also, another test question for you. All of the horizontal lines for isometric drawings are going to be 30 degrees. Always 30 degrees. Here you're going to have your north on your left hand, east on your right hand, and lower down, west, and south. Those are important orientations to always have. And a good little thing you can draw out for yourself to make sure you're not making your pipe the wrong way. Vertical line. Let's make sure I'm remembering this right. There is a 30 degree, sort of the other 30. And that way, you'll know each direction. I didn't explain that well, but I'm sorry. I can't find the right words for it. That's vertical, and that's horizontal. Both of those. Alright, now let's talk about 45 degrees for a second. This bad boy right here. This is a 45. I'm brain-addled. This is the actual line of the pipe, and it's not telling us how long it is because the instructor wants us to find it through Pythagorean theorem. As you can see, these two square lines here, 1'4". And in case you didn't know, I'll write it down. The formula you use for Pythagorean theorem, and I definitely can't spell that, a squared plus b squared. Yeah, that'll be equals c, there we go, squared. And then to find the actual number, you want to use the square root, which looks like that. That's what we're going to be doing. So let's just call this one A, 1'4", which is actually 16 inches. So input 16, and then we have to square it, and you do that by using this x2. X is just a representation for whatever number you're using. It's also called to the second power. So 16 squared is 256, and then you hit plus, and then you have to do the 16 again, because that's our B. So 16 squared, then you hit equal, and we got 512. Then we have to hit this square root button, which will give us 22.627417. Those last few numbers, you're just going to round up. But this is obviously not a 16th of an inch or an inch. You will have to find that number in your blue book. So let's pop in there. Let's go to page. I've got them all bookmarked, and I suggest you do the same. Alright. Let's go down here, and we're at 126. All of these highlighted lines are the 16ths of an inch. They do smaller ones, like 7/32, but that's not something pipe fitters will deal with. It's more for machinists and millwright, I think. Anyway, I've hit a button. So we're going to have to find our number again. I think it was 22.6, but let's make sure. 16 squared plus 16 squared equals square root. There it is. 22. The 22 is going to stay that way. All we need is the 0.627. So let's find 0.6. 6 is up here. 0.62. The closest we're going to have is 0.625. And then there's everything in there, which you would either round up or down. And honestly, when you're doing a 16th of an inch, it doesn't matter which way you round, not really. Just as long as everyone on your team rounds it off to the same number. You could go up or down. There is usually an allowance of an 1/8 of an inch, so you don't have to be completely exact. Anyway, that comes out to 5/8. So our actual number is going to be 22 and 5/8. That's how long our pipe is. Now that's our first answer, but then we need to take the takeouts of the 45. And as I said before, our takeouts for a 45 are going to be 9/16, assuming that this is 1-inch pipe. But let's do that for sake of clarity. If our length is going to be 22 5/8, take away 9, nope. Take away 9/16. I've made a mistake somewhere. Which happens often. This is a smaller operation, and I'm just not doing it correctly, but in a lot of your bigger operations, like getting a rolling offset for a butt weld pipe, you want to always double check your answers, because you may have input the operation wrong. 22 5/8 minus 9/16, and then minus 9/16 again. And the actual literal length of the pipe is going to come out to 21 1/2. And with the 90s, I added 13/16 together because that'll speed me up. I never do that on 45s myself because I feel like it's more likely for me to make a mistake. Also, very often, something you'll need to catch yourself on is you might have a 45 connecting right onto a 90. Let me make sure that this... Hold on a second. Actually, I did make a mistake. We're all learning together right now. These pieces are 90s. They're not 45s. I don't have any physical pieces to show you. Odds are most of you understand it and I rushed through it. But no, the actual takeouts for that should be 13/16, not 9. Yeah, keep your eyes on that, because that's a mistake I make often. But that's all I have to show you for the first video for this. I might do a second one, we'll see. But thank you all for watching.